Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking on a pretty significant task. We're going to synthesize one of the biggest sets of documents outlining the FAA's future operational needs.
That's right. We're looking at the Program Management Office Technical Assistance Contract, you'll hear called PTAC.
And our mission here is to, well, quickly unpack what's in the initial RFI, that's the sources sought, and the really extensive statement of work, the SOW.
Yeah, the goal is to grasp the sheer scale of technical and professional help the FAA needs. It's all geared towards modernizing the National Airspace System, the NAICS.
It sounds massive.
It really is. And you have to understand, this contract isn't just about buying services. It's feeding directly into the FAA's Program Management Office, the PMO.
The PMO.
Exactly. This office manages, well, most of the FAA's really big projects, acquisitions, new business solutions, infrastructure upgrades. So this PTAC is meant to provide a huge range of support right into that central hub.
Okay, so the PMO is central. Why bring in contractors for such critical stuff? Is it about saving money or just acknowledging how incredibly complex this whole modernization thing has become?
Probably a bit of both, actually. The FAA needs this level of outside help because the sheer scale and the speed needed for modernization, it's just beyond what they can handle purely internally, especially with all the older systems they're dealing with.
Legacy systems are always tricky.
They are. So they need the kind of agility and, frankly, the very specialized skills that big contractors can bring to the table. It's about hitting their main goals, safety and efficiency.
Makes sense. So before we dig into the specific tasks they need help with, maybe give us a picture of where this PMO fits within the whole FAA structure.
Sure. So the PMO is a major player. It's actually one of 8 service units inside the FAA's air traffic organization, the ATO.
The ATO being the operational arm.
Exactly. They're the ones running the air traffic system day to day, 204/7. Safe, efficient, responsive. That's their mandate. The PMO was set up within the ATO to kind of centralize all these huge acquisition and infrastructure programs.
Things like radar upgrades, new communication systems.
Yeah, data links, all that stuff. The idea was to get better control over costs and how the programs are run by putting them under one roof, so to speak.
A single point for managing the transformation. Now, the documents, they break down the PMO into 5 directorates, right? Does that structure tell us something about the breadth of work here?
It absolutely does. It shows you just how wide-ranging the PMO's portfolio is. We could probably group them to make it a bit clearer. First, you've got what we call the operational core groups.
Okay.
There's the Air Traffic Systems Directorate, AJM2. They handle the systems that help traffic flow managers make decisions, and also systems that provide services directly to pilots, sort of the brains of the ATC operation.
Got it. Brains.
Then there's Surveillance Services, AJM4. Their focus is on getting the complete picture for operations. So everything from maintaining the old-school ground radars to bringing in the newer GPS-based tracking and positioning.
So tracking what's moving and how. What about the network that connects everything, the pipes?
That's the critical infrastructure part. And that falls largely to the Telecommunications Integrated Services Office, or TISO. That's AGM5. Their job is just huge.
How huge?
They maintain and deploy all the telecom infrastructure needed across, get this, over 4,800 sites nationwide.
Wow, 4,800 sites.
Yeah, and that includes everything from planning the acquisitions to engineering, testing, scheduling for all FAA telecom systems.
Just managing the logistics for reliable comms across that many locations. I mean, if even a few remote sites go down, the whole system's integrity is at risk, right?
Absolutely. It's foundational. And supporting that is the 4th Directorate, Enterprise Services, AJM3. They handle the essential data and services underpinning the NASTHing navigation aids, comms reliability, weather data feeds, aeronautical charts, and info. They're the data provider.
Critical data. Okay, so operational core, infrastructure, data. What's the 5th piece?
The 5th is more about internal workings, integrated services and analysis, AJM1. Think of them as the internal governance hub, kind of one-stop shopping within the PMO for resource management, acquisition support, making sure everyone's following the rules.
The glue holding it together, coordinating things.
Exactly. They ensure programs align budgets, resources, and follow the acquisition processes correctly.
Okay, that gives us a good picture of the PMO itself. Let's shift gears now to the how they plan to acquire these services. This is where the RFI comes in, right? The contract document itself.
Right. And the first thing to clock is that this document, notice ID 693KA926R000002, is explicitly labeled a Sources Sought Request for Information, an RFI, meaning it is not the final request for proposals, the RFP.
Yeah.
They're very clear on that. This is stage 1. The FAA is basically testing the waters, seeing who's out there and qualified. They're looking for responses from large firms, small businesses, service-disabled vet-owned, 8A certified firms, everyone.
And based on who responds, they'll decide on the final strategy, like whether to open it up completely or set some of it aside for small businesses.
Precisely. The responses will tell them about industry capability and help them figure out the best path, unrestricted competition, or maybe a partial set-aside like they originally considered, or even a full set-aside. It's all dependent on this RFI feedback.
And here's something really important for anyone listening who might be interested in FAA work. They don't use the standard rule book, do they?
That is so key. Unlike pretty much every other federal agency bound by the Federal Acquisition Regulation, the FAA uses its own system. It's called the Acquisition Management System, or AMS.
And that matters because
Because it gives the FAA a lot more flexibility. The processes for selecting sources, handling protests, the contract terms themselves, they can be quite different under AMS. You absolutely have to understand AMS if you want to bid successfully. It's non-negotiable homework.
Good point. Now let's look at the logistics baked into this contract, the management requirements. These really show the challenges for whoever wins this, starting right at the beginning with the transition.
Oh yeah, the transition plan is hurdle number 1. You have to submit a draft plan with your proposal and then finalize it just 15 days after getting the award. And the requirement is crystal clear. It has to be a seamless transition.
Seamless, while taking over from 2 existing massive contracts. That sounds ambitious.
It's incredibly ambitious. They need the new contractor to smoothly take over all the work currently being done under 2 huge incumbent contracts. The Program Support Services Contract, PSS, and the Air Traffic Engineering and Program Support Contract, ATEPS.
Just think about the number of ongoing projects, the people involved, the specific knowledge tied up in those.
Exactly. It's immense. And the FAA is only allowing a 90 calendar day window for that transition. 90 days to get everything under the new PTAC contractor integrated and running.
90 days. For mission-critical programs, literally keeping the airspace safe. That tells you a lot about the kind of company they expect to win this. You need serious scale and maturity.
You have to be able to hit the ground running day 1 without dropping any balls. No room for error.
And once they are up and running, the oversight sounds pretty intense, too. Reporting requirements.
Very rigorous. They want monthly contract status reports, CSRs, detailing every dollar spent, the status of all active requirements, all tied back to invoices. Plus, they require quarterly program management reviews, PMRs, starting just 90 days after award.
And those PMRs report on
Progress towards the specific goals of those 5 directorates we talked about, using defined performance metrics.
So the FAA is really using this contractor reporting for detailed cost control and performance tracking, almost like using the contractor's data to manage their own internal resources better across the PMO.
That's exactly it. They need that near real-time data flow to make adjustments, shift resources, ensure they're getting value across all those different program areas.
Okay, one last piece on the logistics. Security. This isn't just supporting some office IT network.
No, absolutely not. This is critical national infrastructure. The security requirements are tough, and frankly, they immediately limit the pool of potential bidders.
Yeah.
The SOW states that some task orders might involve classified work up to the secret level.
Which means
The prime contractor must hold, at a minimum, a secret facility clearance, an FCL issued by DCSA, the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency.
that's a significant barrier to entry. You don't just get one of those quickly. It suggests the bidders probably need to be larger, established companies already cleared for defense work or teamed with one.
For sure. It immediately tells you how sensitive some of this modernization work is. It touches on things like surveillance data, maybe even integrations with defense systems, stuff that just can't be handled out in the open.
Okay, so that covers the structure and the how. Let's get into the real technical meat. Now, the expertise the FAA is actually buying. The SOW lays out 16 core capabilities first. What jumps out there as essential knowledge?
Right. These 16 are like the table stakes, the foundational knowledge you need just to be considered credible. Beyond the obvious ones like program management or defining requirements, there's a clear need for really specialized experience.
Such as?
Deep expertise in air traffic management, ATM, automation. That's non-negotiable. You have to understand how the core ATC systems work and are evolving.
And safety is paramount, obviously.
Always. They specifically require experience not just with FAA safety rules, but also international safety risk management, SRM and safety management systems, SMS. So thinking globally about safety standards.
Aligning with international practices, what about the money side?
Yes. They demand real skill in cost-benefit analysis. And not just back-of-the-envelope stuff. They want comprehensive life cycle cost and benefit analyses. It ties back to that PMO goal of tight resource management. They want the full financial story for every investment.
Okay, so those 16 capabilities define who is qualified. But the next part, the 28 functional task areas, that's the actual work they expect the contractor to do, right? That's the real blueprint.
Exactly. This is where you see the day-to-day, year-to-year activities that will be ordered under this contract. And what's really interesting is how these 28 areas cover the whole life cycle, per the FAA's own AMS. If you group them, you see this dual focus. Keep the current system running, but also push hard on future tech.
Let's start with the basics, the core engineering and support needed just to keep things going.
Sure. That covers your fundamental building blocks. Systems engineering, software engineering, hardware engineering, human factors engineering, super important in ATC. And naturally, financial acquisition management support, plus logistics support. That's the backbone.
Keeps the lights on and makes sure things are built right and deployed properly. But you mentioned future tech. Where are the priorities for modernization evident?
That's where it gets really interesting. You see very specific, dedicated task areas for things like cybersecurity support. That's obviously huge now, given how networked the NAICS is becoming.
Makes sense.
And then there's a major emphasis on cloud implementation and maintenance support. The FAA is clearly serious about migrating legacy systems and applications to the cloud for resilience and efficiency. That's a massive undertaking.
A huge digital transformation project. And given our earlier chat about the telecom network.
Right. There's also a dedicated task for specialized telecommunications support, keeping that massive 4,800 site network humming. Still absolutely mission critical.
So cyber, cloud, telecom, what else points to the future?
Well, the big one, the one that really signals where air travel is heading, is the task area for UAS and emerging technology support.
UAS unmanned aircraft systems.
Drones.
Drones, yes, but also urban air mobility, think flying taxis, and even integrating commercial space launches safely into the airspace.
Yeah.
The complexity there is just off the charts.
Integrating drones and potentially flying cars alongside regular air traffic.
No.
And the SOW makes it clear the contractor needs to bring innovative solutions for integrating these safely. And here's a fascinating detail. The contractor is expected to engage with other agencies on this. DoD, NASA, but also Homeland Security, even the FBI.
Whoa. So integrating a drone isn't just about FAA roles. It's a security issue, a defense issue, a law enforcement issue.
It's an all-of-government challenge, basically.
Right.
Tells you how seriously they're taking the potential impacts, safety, security, everything.
Okay, one more area you mentioned, risk management.
Yes, they have a specific task for Risk Issue Opportunity Management Support, RIO. This shows the PMO wants proactive management. Not just tracking problems after they happen, but identifying potential negative impacts on tech performance, cost, or schedule way ahead of time throughout the entire program lifecycle, and looking for opportunities too.
It really paints a picture. This PTAC contract, it's like the central engine driving the FAA's entire modernization strategy, isn't it? The required expertise covers this incredible range from the nuts and bolts of radar and massive telecom networks to the absolute cutting edge, like cloud, cyber, and figuring out how to manage drones and maybe even space launches.
Yeah, these documents, the RFI and SOW together, they really give you a detailed map. They show the essential programs, air traffic management, surveillance, datacom, cybersecurity, that the FAA is counting on contractors like these to maintain, improve, and ultimately transform. It's all about the future safety and efficiency of flying in the U.S.
So we've laid out this huge complex structure, the PMO, the directorates, all these technical tasks. But there's that one interesting request tucked away in the RFI, wasn't there?
That's right. The FAA specifically asked vendors for suggestions on how to streamline the ordering process and reduce the number of task orders.
Given everything we just discussed, the sheer scope, the complexity, the bureaucracy involved in managing something this vital, it makes you wonder.
It does. So here's something for you, the listener, to think about. If the FAA itself is asking for ways to simplify how they manage all this complexity, what kind of real innovations in management and how they govern these contracts and integrating all these pieces, what are they really hoping to find in those vendor responses? How do you actually make managing something this vast and critical simpler?
A tough question for the vendors, and maybe something for all of us to chew on. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.